Here in the sweltering heat of Buenos Aires, there's an enormous crowd to see the third championship Grand Prix of 1981 at Argentina. And they're also here to give a joyous welcome to their national idol, Carlos Reutemann, that you can see in the Williams car, number 2, second in the right-hand rank. Now, fastest in practice has been the Brazilian driver, Nelson Piquet, in his Brabham. And he's been an amazing 4 seconds inside the lap record. Second, it's Alain Prost, the second of these two cars in the Turbo Renault. Then it's the two Williams cars, fifth in the second of the two Renaults, Rene Arnoux, and sixth, the Mexican Hector Ribach. And Alan Jones has got a flyer. Alan Jones, number 1, the world champion in the Williams, looks as though he's nosing ahead of Nelson Piquet as they go up to the first right-hander, the Recta Principal, which leads into a left-hand bend and then into the long Recta del Fondo straight, and that in turn leads into the curve on, a flat-out fifth gear, double 180-degree right-hander, and it's Alan Jones in the Williams leading Nelson Piquet in the Brabham. The world champion leads. Piquet right with him already. Piquet incidentally made a disastrous tyre choice at Brazil, as a result of which he finished well out of the points, and he's out for revenge, and it looks as though he's going to take Alan Jones, and it's Reutemann in third position, and that's De Cesaris. De Cesaris, the Italian driver in the McLaren, has spun off and he rejoins. No, he doesn't. He's in real trouble. Throttle happy, spinning the car, and away he goes, and it's Piquet leading. We missed the actual point where Piquet passed Alan Jones, but he came right out of the slipstream of the Williams car of the world champion. And now Nelson Piquet from Brazil leads Alan Jones in the Williams. Reutemann is in third position, the man who won in Brazil. Ricardo Patrese there, then Prost, then Arnoux, then Hector Ribach, followed by Didier Pironi in the Ferrari, and the rest of the runners, 24 of them in all. Into lap 2. And now Piquet is already starting to stamp what looks like real superiority on the field. Piquet leading through. Jones. Piquet leads at the end of the lap. Then it's Jones, Reutemann. Behind Reutemann in fourth place, it's Ricardo Patrese. Then in fifth, the turbocharged Renault of Alain Prost, the yellow and white car. And I need hardly say that the Argentine crowd here are rooting very solidly indeed for number 2, Carlos Reutemann, who is in third position. And you will recall that Alan Jones finished second in the previous Grand Prix in Brazil, because Carlos Reutemann chose to ignore team orders which were instructing him for the last 7 laps to let Jones through, and he won, and Jones didn't like it one little bit, understandably. Then Reutemann's going to take his team leader. Reutemann, number 2, the Argentine driver, is passing the world champion, and Alan Jones, for the second race in succession, is seeing the back of Carlos Reutemann's car, and I should think when Reutemann completes this lap and the crowd sees that he's ahead of Alan Jones, they will go absolutely mad with excitement. A great swelling roar of approval bursts from thousands of Argentinian throats as they see their national hero, Carlos Reutemann, going through. And that is Nigel Mansell coming into the pits. Nigel Mansell, the Essex Lotus driver from Britain, who has made a great name for himself. And now there's another one of the turbocharged Ferraris of Didier Pironi, has followed Nigel Mansell into the pits. And Alain Prost is now ahead of Alan Jones. Alain Prost, the young Frenchman in the Renault, has moved up behind Carlos Reutemann into third place, displacing Jones, who goes down to fourth. And behind Jones in fifth position is Hector Ribach. And that looks like Ribach. Ribach has got ahead of Alan Jones, and Ribach looks to me as though, having got past Alan Jones, he's starting to close up on Prost, and this is quite incredible. Frankly, he is not an absolute top-line Grand Prix World Championship standard driver. He's bought his way into the Brabham team. He's a very good driver, but he's not that brilliant. And and he goes straight past Alain Prost with a superb outbraking manoeuvre, and Rybak is driving the race of his life, and I take it all back. That was a superb bit of driving, and now he's after Reutemann. It does not seem to me conceivable that Hector Rybak can catch Carlos Reutemann. The leader, Piquet, is well away. He's about 20 seconds ahead of this battle, but this is the excitement with Prost fourth in the background. Reutemann second, number 6, Hector Rybak gaining on him. Rybak at the back versus Reutemann in the front, battling for second position. And Rybak is drafting Reutemann. He's come out of his slipstream and he just goes straight past. And watch the steadiness of this Brabham. And while I try and explain to you about this suspension, there is a hydraulic device which is controlled by the driver. It is mandatory that when the car is stationary, there shall be a 6 centimetres clearance between the lowest point of the car and the ground. And that is to prevent the effect that the skirts had before of creating enormous downforce. Now, the Brabham team have overcome this because there is a hydraulic device in the car, and when it starts to move, it allows the car to sink almost to the ground, as a result of which they get greatly increased downforce. And into the pits comes Lafitte. Lafitte in trouble. I don't know what it is, but he's getting out of the car, so whatever the problem is, it's terminal as far as the motor car is concerned. Behind Alan Jones is the Renault of René Arnoux. Behind René Arnoux is John Watson, the Ulsterman, the man from Northern Ireland. John Watson in the Marlboro McLaren car, who has really come back onto form this year. There he is, in the very distinctive red and white car in 7th place, gaining definitely on René Arnoux in the turbocharged Renault. That's great stuff. There's Alan Jones, the world champion. Now, that's significant. The crowd is gesticulating. Listen! The crowd's roaring. Something's happened. The crowd knows something that Reutemann doesn't. That's a sign. And when a South American crowd does that, it means they're urging... There's the answer. They've been urging Reutemann on because Hector Rybak, the man who was in second, is out of the race. I don't know what the trouble is, but you can see for yourself that number 6, Hector Rybak, is out of the running. So number 2 there, Carlos Reutemann, to the delight and the undisguised joy of his Argentinian countrymen, is up into second position with only Nelson Piquet between him and the thing that every Argentine person here will be dreaming of, a win for Reutemann. Oh, that is John Watson, who had fought his way up to 6th position. And he, like several of the other drivers that we've seen, has obviously got trouble, comes into the pits, and he will already have lost his 6th position. And somebody's lost it. Somebody's lost it. It's Villeneuve. Villeneuve does a full 360-degree and the rest spin in the 1.5 litre turbocharged Ferrari, and he lights it up. He's kept the engine running. He must have dipped the clutch, kept the engine running, and now he blasts his way back onto the circuit right in the face of Alan Jones, the world champion. Good news for Nelson Piquet, the fact that he's almost home, on his way to his 4th Grand Prix victory in his career. Into the long, swinging second gear right-hander. The crowd is waving. The checkered flag goes out, and Nelson Piquet wins the 1981 to the delight of his team, his mechanics. Carlos Reutemann will get 6 points, and that will put him into the lead in the World Championship, and the crowd knows it and they love it. Watch them. Listen to them. Another Argentine roar, which makes any football crowd sound like a mouse, I can tell you. That is fantastic. Carlos Reutemann finishes in 2nd place. That's the end of the races away from Europe until the end of the season. And in 3 weeks' time, we move to the first European Grand Prix at San Marino.